My stepdaughter refused to attend our wedding, yet years later she appears demanding I give up the family home. A shocking revelation ensues. I, 45 female, have been married to my husband Michael, 50 male, for the last 10 years. We were both in our early 30s when we first crossed paths at a local art gallery. Both of us were admiring the same painting and struck up a conversation. It was like an instant connection, you know? He asked me out on a date, and as we started to know more about each other, it felt like I had known him forever. I am the oldest of 3 children. In my family, money was always tight for us, but manageable. We could afford to go for fast food only if it was our birthday. My dad taught us very early on to work hard for what we wanted to achieve in our lives. I studied hard and put myself through college. I did a few modeling gigs on the side, so by the time I graduated college, I had no debt. I had worked my way through the company and was currently working as a junior associate. Michael, on the other hand, had a completely opposite background. His family was financially better off than ours. His dad had a good job with a high salary and Social Security, so they never had to stress about money. Michael's parents could afford to cover all his college expenses. Thanks to his dad's influential position at his company, Michael got an internship there. From there, he worked hard to build his own path in the company through dedication and effort. Although Michael and I came from 2 different worlds, we share the same passions for art and music. This is what made us fall in love with each other. Michael had a 17-year-old daughter from his previous marriage. His daughter, Candace, never really liked me from the beginning. She never seemed to warm up to me and often refused to engage with me whenever we met. It felt like she somehow held me responsible for her parents not being together. Even though I met Michael long after his divorce was completed with his ex-wife, I understood her feelings and tried to give her the space she needed to come to terms with our relationship. Just for context, Michael and his ex-wife, Amelia, were married for only 3 years. They were college sweethearts, so they decided to get married, but when they did, everything changed for the worse. She was a stay-at-home mother, while Michael worked hard to bring in the money. One day, Michael returned home from a work trip earlier than planned, only to discover her in bed with his best friend, Tom. This was an incredibly difficult time for Michael, as he lost the 2 most important people in his life on the same day. The betrayal by Amelia had left him shattered. In the aftermath, he made the painful decision to file for divorce. The divorce proceedings between Michael and Amelia were painfully bitter, primarily because Amelia was determined to retain ownership of their house, even though it belonged to Michael. The battles didn't just end with the property. They extended into a challenging custody dispute over Candace as well. Due to Amelia's infidelity during their marriage, the judge ultimately didn't grant her ownership of the house, but did grant both parents custody, ensuring that Candace would continue to have a connection with both of them. Amelia's anger over not acquiring the property festered, and over the years, she manipulated Candace's feelings, turning her against her father. Meanwhile, Michael chose not to disclose his ex-wife's infidelity to their daughter, attempting to shield her from the painful details of their past. I found out about all of this when we first started dating each other. Michael wanted to be completely honest with me about his past, and I really appreciated that. Once, Michael had invited Candace to join us on a trip to Africa, hoping it would provide an opportunity for us to bond. I was optimistic and thought it could be a turning point for our relationship. Unfortunately, it didn't quite go as planned. During the trip, Candace seemed irritated at me and often erupted into sudden, unprovoked anger. If I got too close to Michael, she would lash out using hurtful words like gold digger. Michael was quick to admonish her for her behavior, but she would just smirk at me, making it clear that she wasn't ready to accept me into her life. I knew the situation with his ex-wife and daughter was complicated, but our love for each other was strong, and I was willing to navigate these challenges with him. After a whirlwind romance, we got married. It was a small, intimate ceremony with just our closest friends and family. We were excited about the life we were going to build together. Amelia and Candace never attended our wedding despite our invitation. Our marriage was going great initially. We traveled the world while we both continued with our jobs. I was deeply passionate about my career, and I had no intention of giving it up. Meanwhile, Amelia was living together with Tom after their divorce. Candace had her own apartment thanks to Michael's financial support, and she was working as a social media executive in a reputed company. 3 years into our marriage, we were overjoyed to welcome our son. However, the pregnancy had been tough on me, and it was made even harder whenever Candace came to visit. She would make cruel, unsolicited comments about my weight and appearance. Whenever Michael wasn't around us, she would remark how he would leave me eventually now that I am a fat cow. This deeply troubled me, and after I shared my concerns with Michael, he decided that Candace would no longer visit our home. They began meeting at cafes instead to avoid any further distress for me. When our son Nick was born, we were beyond happy. Despite becoming a parent, I was determined to keep working, so we decided to hire a babysitter to help us care for him when my maternity leave ended. I eagerly returned to my job. Even though we were in a stable and comfortable place in our lives, I cherished my financial independence and the ability to continue pursuing my career. If Candace had issues with me before, they seemed to intensify after Nick came into our lives. At family events which we would sometimes organize, she would target Nick, attempting to bully him, which left our son in tears and seeking our help. While I understood her hate towards me, I couldn't stand by and allow her to take her anger out on Nick, our innocent little boy. I banned her from ever coming to our house again. We all stopped hosting family events at our house since then. Now, coming on to the issue at hand, as we were getting older, Michael and I realized the importance of planning for the future. We decided to create a will to ensure our affairs were in order. Given that Michael had already provided a flat for Candace, he designated me and our son as the inheritors of our family home. His remaining assets, which were the money in his personal savings account, would go to Candace. Meanwhile, I had my own assets which I intended to leave to my son, ensuring that he would be well taken care of throughout his life. We both felt this was the right decision to secure our family's future and provide for Nick as he grew up. When Amelia and Candace got wind of our will, all hell broke loose. I'm not sure if Michael mentioned it by mistake or his parents did, but they were not happy at all. Amelia called Michael demanding that they deserved to have the house as she was married to him first, but he firmly stood his ground. He reiterated that he had always provided for Candace, from her child support to her college expenses to buying her an apartment. He told her that he would ensure that Candace is secured in the future, but he was going to leave the property to our son. This seemed to anger her even further, and Amelia sent me a long text message where she called me every name in the book. I showed Michael the message, who asked me not to engage with her further and block her immediately. The following day, Candace showed up at our doorstep, clearly upset. I knew she was here to talk about the will with us. I didn't want her to create a scene in front of our son, so I quickly arranged for my parents to pick him up. We, just the three of us, were left. Candace made her intentions known. She insisted that my son and I should give up the property because, as the firstborn of Michael, she believed she deserved the house. Despite feeling irritated, I remained silent and looked to Michael to handle the situation. He explained to Candace that he had always provided her with everything needed in life. He assured her that he would be leaving her his savings, and that he also had a commitment to secure my and our son's future. Since he was married to me, leaving the family property to us was his way of ensuring our well-being. Candace again shifted her focus onto me and insisted that she expected me to do the right thing. I calmly expressed my support for my husband's decision, which only seemed to infuriate her. She raised her voice and threatened to take me to court. At this point, I didn't want to escalate the situation any further, and I requested that she leave us alone. As anticipated, in a few weeks I received a legal notice informing me that both Candace and Amelia were taking me to court over the property. Their accusations included the claim that I married Michael for his money and had manipulated him into taking away their family property. Michael and I consulted our lawyer, and we were assured that Candace and Amelia didn't have strong legal grounds to support their claims. However, despite the legal advice, I couldn't shake my worries, particularly because I didn't want our son to experience the drama surrounding this family dispute. As the court date approached, the tension in our household grew. In court, Amelia's lawyer was relentless in their efforts to assert that Michael needed to prioritize his first child, Candace, above all else. Their argument centered on pushing for a full-blown trial to determine the property's ownership. Since we lived in Colorado, the legal system required us to go through a jury trial, which only added to the complexity of the situation. The looming court trial had both Michael and me on edge, especially since Amelia's lawyer was resorting to some dirty tactics, digging up our past to make their case in court. Our own lawyer was doing his best, but the situation was undeniably stressful. During this time, out of the blue, we received an unexpected call from Tom, who insisted on meeting us at home. Since the painful discovery of Tom's involvement with Amelia, Michael had cut off all ties with his once best friend and didn't want to meet him. I convinced him to hear Tom out just in case it would help us resolve this dispute sooner. When Tom came over to our house, we were half expecting it to be another one of the opposing lawyer's ploys to undermine our case. However, to our surprise, Tom was here with a different intention: to talk. He revealed that he was here to make a confession about something that would be incredibly difficult for Michael to hear. Michael sat motionless as Tom revealed that Amelia had been seeing him behind Michael's back for a very long time, and they had been involved romantically even before Amelia became pregnant. I held my breath as Tom continued, disclosing a bombshell that none of us had expected. Apparently, when Amelia got pregnant, she confided in him that she believed the child was actually his. However, because Michael was financially more stable, She had chosen to keep the truth hidden and remained in the marriage. Tom had pleaded with her to reveal the real father to Michael, but she had consistently refused to do so. I couldn't believe how Amelia could manage to keep this a secret for so long, and the audacity she had for fighting over the property while keeping this monumental secret from Michael. It was mind-boggling how she had managed to maintain this charade for so many years, all the while causing such turmoil within our family. Tom explained that he had kept silent all these years because he believed that Amelia truly loved him. However, witnessing the pain that we were going through because of the court trial, he finally saw her for who she really was. He started weeping, asking Michael to forgive him. Michael, still in a state of shock, sat there silently. I was filled with anger and frustration, especially seeing the emotional turmoil that my husband was going through. This man believed his whole life that Candace was his daughter, and now he was being told that it was all a lie. I had chosen to remain silent in the past whenever Amelia and Candace were rude to me, as I wanted to maintain a cordial relationship with them. However, with the truth now out in the open, there was no point in continuing this charade. I promptly contacted our lawyer and relayed the confession Tom had made. Our lawyer informed us that for our statements to be held in court, we would need to provide concrete evidence, such as a DNA test. So, we decided to invite Candace over for dinner, using the pretense of wanting to meet her. Our plan was to discreetly collect a glass or a spoon from her for a test which would help strengthen our case. Candace, though surprised, agreed to come over. Her demeanor was as rude as ever, and she continued to belittle me and my son. She remained confident that she and her mother would win the case, taunting me that I would be losing everything soon. I chose to ignore her comments, hoping that this would be the last time we would need to endure such behavior. After she left, we immediately reached out to our lawyer so he could collect Candace's cup for a DNA test. On the day we were scheduled to appear in court, we received the news that Tom's confession was accurate. Candace was indeed his daughter. As I let out a sigh of relief, I couldn't help but feel empathy for my husband, who had been dragged into this turmoil because of his ex-wife's lies and manipulation. I informed the lawyer that I was ready to take the stand that day and share our side of the story in court. My lawyer agreed, as this would be the best course of action for us to reveal the truth. As I took the stand, I felt a mix of emotions: anger at Amelia for her deceit, sympathy for Michael, and determination to protect our family's rights. Taking the stand in front of the jury, I braced myself and began answering our lawyer's questions. We delved into my past, my career, and the fact that I never gave up on my job even after we got married. I went on to recount the emotional torment, taunts, and abuse I had endured from both Amelia and Candace over the years. We presented screenshots as proof of my story. I told the jury that Candace never accepted my presence from the very beginning and had even refused to attend our wedding. Since we had our son, she had been verbally abusive towards him as well. Then I revealed Tom's confession in front of the jury. I spoke about how we found out who Candace's real father was, and the dirty secret that Amelia had kept hidden from everyone for so long. Candace looked at me in disbelief, and I watched her exchange angry whispers with her lawyer. Our lawyer then showed everyone the DNA results which proved what I had just said. I looked at Amelia's face in satisfaction as she realized she couldn't escape the truth of her past anymore. Candace, on the other hand, looked shocked, as if her world was crumbling, just as ours had when we first learned the news. The emotions in the courtroom were raw. Now that everything was out in the open, there were no grounds for Amelia and Candace to stand on. Amelia looked defeated, and Candace, who had been so sure of her victory, was now grappling with the fallout of her mother's actions. There was no case left for their lawyer to fight about anymore. Fortunately, it didn't take long for the jury to decide and come back with a verdict. The judge announced the verdict where we were awarded the inheritance of our family home just as Michael had always wanted, and the jury acknowledged that Candace and Amelia had no legitimate claim to it. Since the court decision, for the past couple of days we have been receiving mixed reactions from our close family and friends. Although a majority of them understand our situation and agree what we did was right, a few seem to think that it was cruel for us to reveal the truth and shatter Candace's life. So here I am on Reddit asking for your thoughts. Do you think I was the a-hole for refusing to part with our property with our stepdaughter and eventually revealing everything in court and not to her personally? Update 1. It's been 3 days since my last update and I have read all your comments and advice. Many of you seem to believe that Candace might have already known about her mother's lies, which is impossible, as I saw the way her face fell when we revealed the DNA test in court. Winning the court trial has lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. I'm choosing not to dwell on the negative relatives who believe we did something wrong. We didn't choose to be dragged into court by Amelia and Candace, we just revealed the truth. I no longer have to worry about my future, and I'm content with the outcome. However, my main concern these days is my husband. Michael is still reeling from the shock of learning the truth about Candace's birth father. His world has been turned upside down. He hasn't been able to eat or sleep very well since finding out that she isn't really his daughter. I can't imagine the pain he must be going through to accept the truth. Amelia put him through hell when they got divorced. Now that we knew Tom was her father instead, he just didn't know how to handle that information. Tom had not only slept with his ex-wife, but was also the father of his first child. I have suggested Michael go for therapy as he needs to talk to someone professional who can help him navigate this situation. I have booked his appointment, and he starts next week. Update 2. It's been 1 month since my last update, and we have managed to move on from this situation to a certain extent. As I mentioned before, my husband has been going to therapy regularly. I can see him getting better, but it's going to take time for him to fully recover. Unexpectedly, last week, Candace reached out to us. We honestly didn't think she'd ever want to talk to us after everything that happened. She called to say she was sorry for what we've been through. I wasn't sure if her apology was genuine or if she was just upset about her mother's actions, but I didn't press the issue. Candace shared how she'd always been jealous of me, thinking I had taken her father away. She admitted to hating me, something I already knew. She believed that her father was the one who had cheated on her mother. However, during the court proceedings, when the truth came out that it was actually Amelia who had cheated, she realized she'd been living a lie her whole life. She begged Michael not to stop being a part of her life, and he reassured her that he'd always be her father no matter who her birth father was. This brought her to tears, and it seemed like she needed that confirmation all along. Candace also apologized to me for what she'd put me through and hoped I'd forgive her one day. I didn't want to pretend everything was okay between us because it wasn't, and it would take time before I could be in the same room with her. Lately, I've been focusing on our family and my son. I couldn't spend much time with him during the court trial, so I'm planning a secret family vacation to take time off and celebrate. Hopefully, this getaway will help us relax and recharge. I'll provide another update if something interesting happens. Update 3. After 3 months of no contact, Amelia showed up at our doorstep. I was torn about letting her in, but I was worried about the neighbors overhearing any potential shouting as she'd done that before. Reluctantly, we allowed her in, but we made it clear that any outbursts would lead to a call to the police. Amelia explained that Tom had decided to leave her and asked her to move out of his house by the end of the month. She was in tears as she revealed that he didn't want to marry her anymore, after what he saw Michael and me go through. With nowhere to go, she wanted to move in with Candace, even though Candace strongly opposed the idea. We learned that since the trial, Candace had cut off all contact with her mother, accusing her of manipulating her. Amelia was only here because she wanted us to talk to Candace regarding this situation. She wanted us to convince Candace about letting her mother move in. Before I could say something, I witnessed my husband lose his temper for the first time. He firmly told Amelia that he had purchased the apartment for Candace only. Hence, it was Candace's decision whether she could live with her. He expressed how she never even bothered to apologize after cheating on him all those years and now expected us to help her out. He told her that he was glad Tom had seen the truth and was leaving her. Amelia tried to justify her lies, saying that she feared being kicked out of the house while she was pregnant and had she revealed the truth earlier to Michael. I couldn't listen to her excuses any longer, so I asked her to leave. I felt we had given her a fair chance to explain herself, and there was no point in prolonging the conversation. After Amelia departed, Michael reached out to Candace to warn her about the possibility of her mother forcing her to let her stay in the apartment. He emphasized that if she allowed it, there would be no way to make Amelia leave. Candace assured him that she had no intention of allowing that. She planned to change the locks to prevent Amelia from entering and would inform her mother that she was unwelcome. As for me, I've had my fill of this drama lately. I have been discussing with Michael the idea of selling our family home and relocating to another state to escape this turmoil. I had emphasized that, for the sake of our son and our marriage, we needed to seriously consider this move. Although it is a tough decision, Michael has come to accept it, particularly since Amelia's unannounced visit demonstrated that we need to put some distance between us and her, given the uncertainty of whether she will ever leave us in peace. Moving out of this city seems like the best choice. Michael's job can be done remotely, and I'm open to starting fresh at a new company if it means finding happiness away from these toxic people. We will begin the process of selling our family home next month, and hopefully by the end of this year we will be starting fresh in the new place. It is time for us to turn the page on this chapter of our lives and begin a new one.